Welcome to the Mike Dillard Podcast, where entrepreneurs like you get the knowledge and skills that you need to bring your dreams to life. Well, guys, today we're joined by the one and only Dean Garziosi, and I predict that you're going to see Dean absolutely everywhere over the next 2 weeks because he's partnered up with my friends Tony Robbins and Russell Brunson to launch a brand new software and education company this week that's designed to help people like you turn your knowledge, your passions, and your expertise into a 7 or 8 figure career. Now, the information business has, continued to grow by leaps and bounds over the last decade because the technology that's now available to you and I has made it easier for us than ever to get our message out to the world. Now, if you think about it, you and I have an entire mobile TV station and distribution network in our pocket now. And we also have the ability to put targeted ads right in front of the right people at the right time with the right message with nothing more than a few clicks of a mouse. Capabilities that were impossible just a few years ago. As a result, it has never been easier to make money by helping other people solve their problems than it is right now today. In fact, Dean has personally sold over $1 billion in books and courses now during his career, and I'm going to be closing in on the $100 million mark here in the next couple of years. Now, neither of us had any idea what we were getting into when we started writing, when we started recording, and when we started sharing our knowledge with the world many years ago. We didn't have any special titles or degrees, and we didn't have a huge track record of success. I was still waiting tables when I wrote my first ebook, sharing what I had learned about marketing with others so that I could help them, and that ebook ended up making me a millionaire within the next 18 months. So how do you get into the information business, and what business model should you choose? Should you write an ebook, create a course, start a mastermind, or pursue coaching? Well, that's one of many questions that we're going to answer for you here today. And if you want to check out the amazing new software and training that Dean and Tony created to help you launch your own information business, head to joinmikeDillard.com to check it out. And here's a quick pro tip for you. Considering who's involved, I have a feeling that this could be the largest product launch in history, which means that this is an opportunity to capture and study their entire marketing campaign. Modeling what is already proven to work is by far and away the fastest and easiest way to success. So go to joinmikeDillard.com and start to really watch and study this campaign as it unfolds over the next 2 weeks. Save their emails, record and transcribe their videos, and watch everything that they're doing, because once this launch is over, well, you'll have lost your chance to add this campaign to your library and to study it and use these same strategies in your business in the months and years to come. So now, without further delay, let's dive on in, and please help me welcome Mr. Dean Garziosi. Guys, today I've got an amazing guest for us, one of our highest rated and listened to downloads last year. My good friend, Mr. Dean Garziosi, is back. Dean, welcome, brother.
What's up, Mike? How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right. It was good to see you a couple of weeks ago in Cali with our good friend Evan Pagan and a bunch of others.
Yeah, really cool, man. I look forward to it. You know, we don't get the opportunity to talk every day, but I really look forward to hanging out a couple times a year. I love the way you think. I love what you're accomplishing. I love what you're doing for the world, man. So keep up the good work.
Likewise. Thank you. I appreciate that. So we've got something in common, which is the fact that we've both ended up in this entrepreneur space as educators and as teachers, which really started as, I guess, students in the first place many years ago with this appetite for information that we weren't getting from other sources. And we talked a lot about that in San Diego, about the information industry and how it's changed and how it's growing. So I wanted to take an opportunity to pick your brain, because you've built one of the single biggest information business empires in the world, hundreds of millions of dollars in sales, if not billions at this point. But talk us through that real quick, your story as an information entrepreneur and how you ended up going down that path, because I know you got your real start as an entrepreneur in real estate.
I did. No, really great question, especially with all the things we're working on. Like at this phase of my life, when I look back, and you know this, Mike, especially all the people you get to serve and you help and you give them a faster track, right? So many times you'll get somebody who you're teaching, and when they get you like alone, they're like, all right, Mike, what is the thing? Like, what got you here? How did you break that barrier? Like, so many people are trying to just get to that next level. How'd you break through? And I think not the delusion, because I was there too, especially in my 20s when I kind of envied other people being successful, right? I think the delusion is that there's this thing. There's the magic machine. There's the immediate results that happen if you just discover or do this magical potion kind of thing, right? I didn't elegantly describe that, but everybody thinks it's quicker than it is. And looking back, I'm 50 this year, looking back at my success, and yes, I'm blessed to have done over $1 billion in sales in the information business with my brands and my companies. I'm blessed to be a multiple New York Times bestselling author and have courses and had an infomercial still on TV right now for over 20 years. All that sounds good, but I guess I want to start before I answer that question. No matter where you are right now when you're listening to this, I want you to know I didn't forget my roots. And I want you to know wherever you are right now, if your back's against the wall and you're struggling and you're not sure what to do next, I've been there. If you started your business and sales started and you want to know how to scale it without all the complexity, I've been there. I remember wanting to get my first information sale done. I remember wanting to get to 100 grand a year, and then I got to 100 grand a month, and then I got to 100 grand a week, and then I got to 100 grand a day, and then I got to 100 grand every 5 or 6 hours. I've been at all those phases, failed miserably in between, and had some amazing accomplishments. So I just want to anchor this conversation because, Mike, you're real important to me. I appreciate what you do. I enjoy you as a friend. And I love the path of the entrepreneur looking for the next level. So many people think it's magically going to come upon them when really it takes work and it takes a guide. So to answer that, I could give you a million different habits. I could give you a million different things I've discovered. But when I look back, it was self-education. It was information that I got that allowed me to go faster at every level. So I guess this is a really great question because I never thought about it this way, but I learned at a really young age, Mike, and you probably did too, that hard work didn't equate to success. Like right now, the word hustle's great, but if you hustle in the wrong direction, if you hustle digging a ditch, you just get deeper. If you hustle and work hard with a bad golf swing, you could practice 20 hours a day. It's still going to get worse. So I was lucky enough at a young age to realize that my parents both worked really hard, but they both never had money. They both struggled. My mom worked 3 jobs to make $90 a week. My dad was a mechanic and changed engines and painted cars, hustled, headaches from the paint fumes and dirty hands. Nothing wrong with any of that, but he didn't get to where he always wanted to go. He always wanted another level and he couldn't find it. And I think looking back, sometimes we rewrite our history. It's easy to tell a story. I was broke. I lived in a trailer park, which is true. And then I discovered, but when I really put myself in that space of what did I feel, is I knew that whatever my parents were doing wasn't working. And I needed something different. And I wasn't smart enough for school. My guidance counselor even said, you didn't take your SATs, you're not going to college. Well, maybe you could work at the only factory in town. I heard they're hiring. Like there was no other, I know you've been there, Mike. Like the world didn't present you another option. It was either college, go in debt, and over 50% of Americans who get a degree hate the job they got in. Like only 27% of Americans that got a degree actually get a job in that field, and half of them hate the job. So I had older friends with college debt and a job they hated. So it was either like, go get a job to just pay the bills or go work construction. I was like, oh my God. And I was so blessed that I found another path. And that's the information business, self-education. So if I go back, there was 2 people in my little town. I grew up in upstate New York, Dominic Affuso and Joey Noto. And both guys, I grew up in a town that was all Italians, right? So both of these guys started with nothing. I think one of them didn't even get out of high school, but they were both self-made millionaires. And they just seemed happier, Mike. Life seemed to not be so complicated as it was for my parents. And I don't know if gift from God or the universe, whatever you believe in, something made me attracted to them. And another guy named Mark Miller, he was 80 years old when I was in my early 20s. And I became friends with these guys. And I started seeing that if I could learn from somebody who's already been there, I might have to change habits. I might have to change thoughts. I might have to look at the world through a different set of glasses. But they seemed happier. They had money. My parents and my family didn't. And then I started getting momentum. I had a collision shop. I had auto sales. I got my first real estate deal before I was 20 and no money down deal. I started getting apartments. I probably had 15, 18 apartments. I started building houses. I bought a tow truck. I had a little tow truck company. I was starting to build momentum. And then one thing fundamentally shifted all of it. I was already on my way to being a millionaire. I was, through real hard work, through blue collar strategy. But I think it was almost, I don't know how to explain it. Like, I willed it and I forced it. I had a lot of stress to get there, a lot of anxiety, a lot of sleepless nights. And then in my 20s was my first taste of the information business. I saw an infomercial with Tony Robbins on it, and I called and I bought this course that my father told me I was insane. You're buying money off of some infomercial. You're buying some knowledge. You're buying information. You'll get a refund. And that course fundamentally shifted my life. Like, there were things in there that Tony Robbins said that I was like, holy shit, for lack of a better word. Like, who thinks this way? And then all of a sudden, Tony introduced me to Wayne Dyer and Eckhart Tolle and John Wooden, and he had the Power Talks every month. And I start getting introduced to all these people, and I start realizing that there's a world called self-education. I didn't have college and I didn't go blue collar, but I got this self-education. And I got so excited about it that within 2 years, in 1998, I filmed my first infomercial. I created a course and a product, and I went on TV. No, I never did direct response. I never sent a direct mail piece. There was no internet, so I wasn't online. I went straight to infomercial. And man, I was flipping cars and flipping houses to fund this seemingly black hole of trying to share information, get paid, impact people's lives, and make money. It wasn't all, I wasn't trying to be Mother Teresa. I wanted to make money, and I wanted to change people's lives along the way.
We had a really similar epiphany. Mine was watching my parents the same, busting their butts every day.
Yep.
And I would wait tables all throughout high school, which was a brutal job because I'm waiting tables on the weekends while my friends are out having fun. And I'd come home at midnight, 1 a.m. on a Saturday night and relax, and watch TV and wind down. And what's on at 1 a.m.? Infomercials.
Yeah.
Right. So I found my first infomercial. I wish I could remember what it was, but it was literally, I think, the very first infomercial ever on an info product where it told you how to buy a mailing list of a certain category of customer you wanted to pursue, how to make a little booklet to help them build a table or crafts or hobbies or whatever, and then mail them a sales letter and then have them send you a check back or call a phone number and give you their credit card information and sell your product that way. So I bought that, and I was in college at the time, and probably a sophomore, junior year in college, learned all of the things that I wish I had known going to Texas A&M as a freshman that I didn't know until I was a sophomore, junior, which teachers to get, which dorm to get, what supplies you need to bring. So I ended up buying a mailing list. I found out through that course that you could buy a mailing list of the incoming freshmen next year who had been accepted to the school. And I wrote a little booklet on everything that I wish I had known before I got to school.
Wow, I love it.
Yeah, and wrote a sales letter for that and mailed out envelopes to, probably 2,000, 3,000 kids, and sold a bunch of these little books. And I wish I had known at the time, but I broke even on that. And I was like, well, that's pretty cool. But if I had known what that really meant at the time.
Right, exactly.
Oh God. But that was it. And then that hooked me. And so I ended up skipping all of my college classes. And I would spend the entire day in Barnes & Nobles in the marketing section on the floor, reading business books and marketing books all day. And then taking cram courses 3 days before my exams to pass them, with eventually a 2.0. But by that time, I was already down the entrepreneur rabbit hole and really found the same value that you did when it came to info. And that epiphany was, Bill Gates is working 12 hours a day just like I am, and just like someone waiting tables was. The difference is, what are they applying that activity towards, and make it a conscious decision about that changed everything. So
yeah, no, and God, you and I both know so many people with that similar story, right?
Yeah.
But information is what changed my life, and then same with you. I mean, we're in a mastermind together, right? We've gone to Europe, we've gone to France to be in that mastermind. Like it's that important. And along that journey, I think it's like, especially if you're watching right now and your business isn't doing exactly what you want. That means maybe you didn't start it, or maybe you're doing $1 million a month, you want to do $2 million a month. Maybe you're doing $1 million a year, you want to do $5 million a year. Every time is your best thinking, your best capabilities got you to where you were, and they served you well. But the same thinking and the same capabilities that got you out of Egypt are not the same ones that'll take you to the promised land. And I stole that from Dan Sullivan, but of strategic coach. It's like, I always know that if I want to go the next level, I have to find someone who's already done it. I have to learn their mistakes and I have to learn their accomplishments, and I can go so much faster. I can leapfrog years of my own trial and error. And Mike, you and I know this. Do you ever work on something, you're trying to crack Facebook, or you're trying to find a way to get your students more engaged on a monthly training? Like you're working, like running on a treadmill. And then you go to a mastermind and you sit next to a Mike Dillard or somebody like that, and they go, oh yeah, I was there last year. I just decided I text messaged them every day, and our stick rate went from 3 months to 6. Oh, and here's the text messages. And you're like, oh, I just spent 6 months trying to figure that out. And once I had those epiphanies, those little breakthroughs from Tony Robbins and then all the people he introduced me to, and then just like you, I geeked out on business books and marketing books, and I became a voracious study of people online and not online, but TV and marketing. As I started doing that, I realized I need to immerse myself with more self-education. Like I go to probably 10 masterminds a year. I conduct 10, 15 masterminds a year, and probably the same as you, nothing moves the needle for me more than learning from someone else's trial and error.
Yeah, no, that was one of the first big lessons I learned once I got truly into the information business. This was way back in the early 2000s after I'd figured out network marketing and started writing courses for that industry. I rapidly realized that the more money I spent on myself, as far as education goes, books, courses, events, mastermind groups, the more my income followed that same trajectory. And it was directly related. And I just still remember that lesson, 15 years later, because it was the single biggest correlation that I could find from activity to income.
Yeah. And along that journey, like I try to, while I'm talking, I never just want to, this is crazy. There's two voices that always go on inside my head, right? Like I want to share massive value. If somebody's taken the time they're always going to spend the time with you, but if they're going to be for the first time, maybe you're just being introduced to me, Mike sharing, like if you're here with me, I want to deliver value for you. And then I think while I'm talking, I'm like, am I living inside your head? Right? I know you have massively successful people listening right now on a whole nother level, and you have people just dying to get in the door, and everywhere in between, you still have an entrepreneurial mindset. And I just want to make sure I serve at every level. And here's the thing that I really want to address here is there are, and I don't want to go too down the personal growth phase, but one of the biggest things that Tony taught me 20 something years ago that I want to share with you is there are certain beliefs, no matter where you are in success, that have to be broken. If you're just starting or you're stuck at 10 million a year, there's a belief pattern that carried you to this point. And what being a part of self now, and I want to transition from learning self-education to how we teach it and how we can share and profit from it. But there's this point where you have to realize, like all of a sudden you got to go, holy crap, I was running like on the ground, getting momentum. And then there was a certain space getting started with that business, going to 10 million, going to 20 or 100 million, that you went off from moving to actually got on a treadmill. This is the crazy analogies I have in my head. And all of a sudden you want to go faster and you just think, let me just run faster. And you put the treadmill up to 5 and then 7 and then you're on 10 and you're one of those entrepreneurs. You don't have a moment to yourself. You're running and gunning. You don't have time for your kids. You don't have time for anything. And you're like, why isn't this working? It's because your capabilities, your knowledge, your thinking got you there, and you were running on the road. You were running, a 6-minute mile pace. And then all of a sudden you don't realize one moment you got on a treadmill and you're still running fast, but you're not going anywhere. So I just want to urge you not only to be in the information business, we'll talk more about that now, if this is kind of like a tipping point of that, but stay in the information business. Be obsessive on gaining the knowledge from someone else. Seek people out. Dan Sullivan, I love referring to him sometimes because he's got the simple sayings. He said that the most stress-free, successful billionaires that he's ever coached, and he's coached plenty of them, he said they replaced the word how with who. He said so many times when we want to go to the next level, you want to learn, how do I grow my Instagram account? Man, how do I do this? Do I do 3 posts a day? Do I go out live on Instagram, or do I post 3 stories a day? And do I show my personal life, or do I show this? And do I pay for ads? Do I pay for like all this? It's like, that's overwhelming. And that's one piece of 1,000, right? Or instead of saying, how do you do Instagram? Keep doing what you do and make money, and go find the who. Go find the who that knows how to grow Instagram, and either hire them as a consultant or pay them to do it. And it's like, duh. but we don't think about those things. And all that means to me is if you feel like you're on a treadmill at any level of your business, it's time to gain new capabilities. Look for the who, look for the capabilities, cut a check for speed.
Yeah, no, agreed. It quickly transforms from a what do you know to a who do you know once you hit a certain level. And it really is. I mean, just the ability to tap out and send a quick email to you or others in our mastermind group and just say, hey guys, who do you know that can help with YouTube ads, and get a response back within a day, and have that problem completely fixed and off your plate instead of trudging through it for a year trying to figure that out on your own is priceless. So
it is.
Yeah. So, well, let's talk about getting in the info business. If somebody's listening to this and they're like, I mean, how much do you do it? Yeah.
So we've been geeking out. Tony Robbins and I'm going to talk about what him and I are working on.
Yeah.
Him and I have been dear friends for about 9 years. And he was a guy that was on my list. If you could have asked me 15 years ago, you could meet anyone in the world, that would have been Tony, because of the impact, because he's the first one, took money from me and transformed my life, right? He's the reason I went in the information business, the reason I did an infomercial. So we hit it off. We were supposed to meet for an hour. We met for 10. And we've just been friends ever since. And we've been talking about doing a project together. And I'll talk more about that later. But we know what self-education did. So we started studying. And we found out that college has gone up 8 times while wages stay flat. Like $1.5 trillion worth of college debt right now. People are doing a massive exodus out of college right now like never before. People aren't going to college. And if you went to college, you know that the majority of people, over 70% of the people, 75% of the people who get a degree don't get a job in that degree or never use it, but they have the debt. MIT just said that technology is moving so fast that what they teach students year 1 is obsolete by year 3. So what that tells me is people are going to school the old ways. You go to school, and again, most of you listening already are past this point. You went to school, and then you spend years in that field learning from other people until you finally get to the level of management where you're learning from somebody who's got real capabilities, and then you learn that in your 40s or 50s or 60s, and then hopefully you can evolve there. Like that's the old way, right? And what people are realizing through self-education is to leapfrog all that. If I want to learn online marketing like a badass, I'm just going to go to Mike Dillard. He's already figured it out. I'm going to cut him a check and tell me how to go faster, right? And the world is figuring that out in the tune of $355 million a day. Like this is an industry that didn't exist. I look back at and this is what I'm saying. The information business isn't something you should be like, I wonder if that's for me. I feel, and what Tony and I are hoping to do is make you feel guilty if you're listening right now and you have an expertise, a hobby, a skill, something you're passionate about, and you don't extract it and share it for a profit. You're actually doing the world a disservice because, and I know I'm kind of all over because I'm passionate about this right now, but if the education system is broken, if it's not giving people what they need, then the answer to allow the world to grow is living in your head. You listening right now or you watching right now. People are paying, and this is the research we've done, Mike, amazing. In our space, I think of self-education. I think of books in the business world or masterminds or workshops or communities, group training. I think of in the business marketing world, right? But man, this is happening everywhere. We found haircutter who knows how to do fades really good, teaching young guys how to be badass barbers, guys doing 5-10 grand a month helping other people. Or a fitness guy was amazing at training at $75 an hour and then started to do monthly Zoom calls, charging people $50 a month, but he's putting 500 people on a Zoom call, right? People that are good at photography and are doing really well and making good money doing weddings find out, oh my God, on the weekend, train other people how to do weddings and make exponentially more money. You can make impact and money at the same time. So I believe when I look back on when Tony started 42 years ago, which is insanity, self-education wasn't really cool. It was like this hidden little niche, right? And I started 21 years ago. I had to convince people that they should get a coach, that they should read books, that they should get a mentor. It wasn't cool, but it's cool now. We're at this tipping point. That's why Forbes said that's going to be more like $700 million. About $900 million a day in just 5 years from now. It's how fast this industry is growing because people are going, okay, 6 years of school, $60,000 in debt, or I'm just going to go learn from the guy who's the best at it right now. Like, it's the world's changing. So if you ever thought about wanting to make an impact on the world, now is the time. And it doesn't matter how small your niche is. If you've spent years through trial and error, figure something out, a skill, a hobby, an expertise, you should be obligated, in my opinion, to learn a process to extract that knowledge and share it with people for a profit.
And one thing I want to mention real quick about this is that you do not need anyone's permission to teach. You don't need a degree. You don't need anybody's approval. You don't need to worry about being judged.
Wow. That's words I never heard, Mike. I'm so glad. That's so profound. I'm glad you said that today, because I know there's some people thinking, am I good enough? Do I need permission? Do I need a degree?
I went through that in my early 20s. I'm like, who the heck is going to listen to me? I'm 23, 24 years old. Why would they buy my book? Or why would they listen to me when it comes to anything about business or money or marketing? And yet I had taught myself a couple of skills. I taught myself copywriting, and I taught myself how to use Google AdWords. And I ended up writing a little 55-page ebook on Microsoft Word. I had it printed at Kinko's with that little cheap spiral binding.
Yeah.
Did the cover art myself. Never had that book once edited at all. And I sold $25 million worth of that ebook.
Oh my God.
It's not because I was some kind of magic marketer. It's because what I wrote in that book helped so many people that it just took on a life of its own, and it completely transformed an industry that created a ripple that's now touched the lives of literally millions and millions of people. And that permission piece was hard for me because you think that you need it. You think that you need some stamp of approval or credentials list in order to be taken seriously. And if I had fallen into that trap, a lot of people's lives would be drastically different today. So you don't need it. Just share what you know or share what you're passionate about. And as long as you know one thing more than the person you're talking to or that's watching your video, and you can help them, that's it. That's the only approval you need.
Mike, I'm really glad you shared that, because I remember feeling the same way. After I learned this business and understood it was even something, after I bought Tony's course, I sat and I used to set my alarm at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and I'd work for 3 hours on creating a course. And then I'd go work on cars and tow trucks and houses all day. And somebody especially, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way, but someone who's used to the academic path, especially like a teacher or a professor, that's their life. It doesn't mean they're bad or wrong. It's just been their life. More than one said to me, oh my God, why is someone going to listen to you? And the truth is, after the third person said it, I started to believe it. And I almost hit delete and be like, this is ridiculous. I'm not a teacher. I can't say I went to this college. I can't even say nothing. And it was wrong. They were wrong. People want to learn. And this was 20 something years ago, before it was common, before you could access stuff, an ebook, before you could get information, before you could do a Zoom call. So I'm really, God, you brought back a memory that I haven't thought about forever, Mike. That was, I question it. And then the thing is, and I should be more of an advocate of that, once people started to buy, that was amazing proof. But then the next level, Mike, look at the results. I know the results people got from your book. When people not only were buying it, but then they were just modeling it and getting the same results you got. Then all of a sudden, it's a different, I forgot how I used to think. So there's probably there's a lot of people going to watch this thinking, yeah, Dean, but you're an expert. Mike, yeah, you're an expert. But we weren't. No. We were I love the other thing too, is when it's time to be the provider of information for impact and profit. That's why I like to look at it, is think about being the reporter of knowledge, right? If you don't feel you're the expert, you're young, you didn't really accomplish anything yet. Think of Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins wrote one of the best and best-selling financial books of all time, called Money, Master the Game. New York Times, #1 bestseller, gazillion copies sold, right? Tony's not the financial expert. Tony's the reporter of other people's knowledge. He went and interviewed the top financial people on the planet, and then was the reporter of knowledge, and still was able to touch the lives of countless people. I've got a really interesting add-on to that story, because I am humbled to have played a tiny role in that piece of Tony's career, and it backs up what you just said. So
what if you're not one of the best in the world at a topic? After I built that first business in the networking industry, I was ready to move on. And my biggest problem at the time was I'm 29, 30 years old. I've built a multiple 8-figure business, and I have no idea what to do with the money that I've made. The 2008 crash had recently happened. I'm spending my money on cars and houses and boats. I'm a single guy in my 20s, making this kind of money.
Yeah.
And I'm just blowing all of it, right? And so I was like, I need to figure out this money thing, because what used to work and what's on all the bookshelves right now is now irrelevant after the crash of 2008. So I said, I'm going to go start another business, and I'm going to learn how the rich invest. And I'm going to go interview really successful entrepreneurs who've not only learned how to make money, but keep it and build it and create true wealth. And I was not the expert in that industry. So I left my nice, comfy business that I built up to 8 figures.
Yep.
And I went to a completely new industry that I didn't know anything about. And I started up a new business, and it was all based on interviewing those individuals. So I was not the expert, I was the host. And what was really interesting is when I interviewed Tony on the podcast a couple of years ago, he was a member of that product. So he was inspired by that, and that helped play a role in his book, which was solving the same question. How do you invest in this post-2008 world like the rich?
Yeah.
So I thought that was absolutely mind-blowing that he even knew who I was and that had bought my stuff. So, yeah.
That's a really cool story. I had a little role in that too. It's when Tony and I first started being real close. And Tony is a worker. Like, success, when people look from the outside, they think success comes easy. It doesn't, but it's worth every bit of it, right? He gets to make choices and have the freedom, all the things we want, right? So we're going back and forth, and he had all these names for the book, and he calls me at like 2:00 in the morning, and I see it's Tony, and I'm like, all right, let me answer this. And he's like, he's all fired up. He's in flow. And he's like, dude, I just think I want to name it something simple like freaking money. Nobody wants me to name it money because they said it's too like in your face. I need to say like the something strategy, the 7 habits. He's like, fuck it. I just want to name it money. What do you think? I'm like, yes, name it money. He's like, okay, right now, could you riff for like 10 minutes on what money means to you through your eyes? You started with nothing. You've done this. You help people. And I literally got off the phone. I riffed for like 15 minutes on money. And a lot of that ended up in the first chapter. So
cool.
That was pretty cool, but yeah. That's such a prime example of, if you want to be in the knowledge business, if you want to be in the information business, don't look at it like I have to be the expert. How the heck am I going to teach this? What am I going to? There's a methodical process. And it's one of the things Tony and I have just totally geeked out on and went deep on, creating a methodical process to extract your knowledge, right? Not the knowledge that people think you have, your unique ability, your superpower. And then how do you share that, right? But if you don't feel that you're confident, then you do what Mike did. Just become the reporter of other people's knowledge. And then the third way is how Tony started. I didn't realize this, but when Tony and I are working through this course, the first 3 years Tony was in business, he never went on stage. I didn't know that. Tony was the partner. Like, he brokered other people's knowledge. He'd fill events and put Jim Rohn on the stage. He'd fill events and put other speakers, and then they just split the profit right down the middle. So if the knowledge business is exciting to you, which I think it should be exciting to everybody, one of the fastest growing businesses in the world, you get to impact people's lives. We get to fix a flawed system, and we get to get paid really well as this wave of money's coming in. If you're the expert, you should be obligated to share your skill, your hobby, your passion, your talent. If you're not the expert, be the reporter of an expertise of a niche that you want to learn about. And lastly, if not, you could partner with somebody who is the expert. You fill the event, they do the education, and you're in this, knowledge business. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, how much would this cost if we were turning this into a course right now? $19 for a Zoom link?
Yeah. I mean, seriously, who wouldn't pay for this, right? And here's the thing, though. I really want you to think about something. Everybody who's listening, not you, Mike, you get this. But I conduct a lot of masterminds, right? And I've been asking them for about a year, like, who in here would like to extract, like, I use that word, I've been using it a lot, but extract something, like a little niche. Like, it used to be, have to be what? Like, it could be the smallest niche of what you're good at. I'm good at the selling part. I'm good at the processes. I'm good at creating standing operating procedures or measuring KPIs or hiring or whatever it is. I'm good at gaining confidence. I'm good at selling. I'm good at closing, right? If you could extract that part and people would pay you for that, who in here would like to collect money that way? It's always 99% of the room, right? And I always ask, what would hold you back? And as marketers, I would think, well, how do you sell it, right? But most of the time, it's like, how would I teach it? Like, how do I extract? Like, a lot of us are unconscious competence. So how do we share that? And I think that's one of the things that Tony and I really geeked out on is, and I use the word geek out, whatever word you want to use, it went deep on, is how do we get people the confidence and show them a process to extract what they're good at and then reverse engineer it and go after that ideal client that only wants exactly what it is you share.
Right.
Right. And what's allowed this to be so, I'm inspiring you to get ready to go do this, because not only can you extract your knowledge, identify your perfect client who wants exactly what you teach, right? I mean, I have a live event partner. We've done over $500 million in sales. He could say, I created one of the biggest live event companies in the world. I could say, I created one of the biggest live event companies in the world. Our unique abilities are so far apart. His whole life is KPIs, hiring, processes, systems. He measures the numbers obsessively. I want to throw up when I look at his spreadsheet. I can't do what he does. He's got 500 employees working for him. I know how to engage people to show up for the events, and I know how to educate them. I don't know any of the stuff in the middle. So if you went to him for marketing, you would fall flat on your face. He's terrible. He's never been on camera in his life. But if you came to me to create the standing operating procedures to scale your human resource department, I would die, right? So you extract what you're good at, you identify your perfect client, and then in today's world, again, none of this I'm saying is easy, but we've already forged a path. It's like you can identify that exact person and go after them, right? When I used to be on infomercials, I had to cast a big wide net. I was hoping somebody walked by the TV and thought, oh, maybe I should make money in real estate. Let me listen to this guy. In today's world with Instagram and Facebook and YouTube and social media, you could, if you wanted to go after pregnant moms who make over $100,000 a year, who like, booty bands and yoga and do it on weekends, you could find that person. Like we can narrow that niche down to search for them and say, hey, how would you like a faster way to get in shape with booty bands and yoga on the weekends? Because that's what I teach. I'm doing a Zoom call, right? Again, I'm not trying to oversimplify it. There's no marketing, but the world has changed. And that's why I'm so excited that Tony and I are actually doing a special training here coming up soon that he hasn't done something like this in over 10 years. We're going to do a webcast and reveal this blueprint that we've been obsessing in and going deep on for almost a year. So I'm really stoked. This is a guy who changed my life. I admired him. Now we're partners on sharing with the world how to extract their knowledge and share it for a profit.
Well, you told me a little bit about that in California a couple of weeks ago. So what's the big plan? What are you guys working on?
Yeah. So I'll go a little deeper with you. Kind of been keeping it under wraps because we've been working on it so long. But we looked back at our lives, and again, self-education is what transformed our life. The education system is broken, and our mission, just him and I talk about all the time, is how do we make self-education the new norm? And we're trying our hardest, right? We got 62 years between us. We've touched the lives of millions of people. Our brands have done billions of dollars, and we've impacted millions of people. But how does that legacy continue? Like, we're not going to be here forever, and the world needs this more than ever. And we just thought, how about we create a process to teach everybody with a niche, or somebody who knows someone that's good with a niche or an expertise or a skill? How do we make it common and easy to extract your knowledge, share it with people, impact their lives, and get paid for it? So we want to we created and we want to share with everybody. Again, we're doing a special webcast, and I think we gave you a link where every one of your people can watch it for free. They can join us. So I would say absolutely here in a moment, let's give them that link and join Tony and I. He hasn't done something like this in 10 years. If you know anything about Tony, he is obsessive on delivering value. Like, Tony is not the guy that will speak for 2 minutes and not deliver value. You ask him a question this big, he just pours it on you, right? So we're going to do this special webcast training to unveil the blueprint of how to, and we're just high level. Let's figure out what you're good at. Let's extract it. Let's create a curriculum and learn how to get people to pay you for that, whether you want to do a Zoom call or a workshop or build a community or do a mastermind or do a group training on a regular basis or an online group training. How do you share that knowledge, get paid exponentially, make an impact, and do it over and over again? So we're really stoked. We've been working on it, and it's here. We're ready to rock the world.
Awesome. So guys, I'm going to set up a redirect, and if you go to joinmikeDillard.com, I'm going to redirect it to the page where you can go participate in this and watch it. So
if you go to the page, register. I think it's Join Mike Dillard, right? Is that what you said? Yeah. So go to the page. It'll give you a little information. Join, put your name and email in, cell phone if you want us to send you a text right before we go live. And then Tony and I did a quick pre-event training you can't get anyplace else. It's really cool. We were sitting in the studio. We said, hey, how do we encourage people to be motivated when they show up to make this a part of their life? And we just riffed on this training. It came out amazing. It's the only place. So you'll get instant access to that training. It'll give you the dates and the time. And then I'll just say, the only thing, this is getting bigger than I thought it was going to be, Mike. I mean, I knew it'd be big, but oh my God, everybody's talking about it. I think there's going to be over 100,000 people, maybe way more on. So what I'd suggest is show up 15 minutes early. When you see the time when it's going to be broadcasted, get there 15 minutes early so you can get in the chat, because at the end we're going to do Q&A, and I'd love to be able to answer your questions, and Tony, the same thing.
Awesome. So specifically the topic that you guys are going to cover, just to make sure this is really clear for everybody, essentially how to get into the information business, how to do what you and I and Tony have done for our careers that's changed our lives, basically.
Yeah, and absolutely. How do you get into the knowledge or the information business? And I would just say one thing. If you're judging this before you show up, don't. If you're someone that wants to start an online business, you just want to make more money, you want to have more control of your life, but this is something you never thought about, I'm going to encourage you to show up, because we're going to take you on a journey. We're going to tell you our story, but then tell you why, if you want to make money, this is the business you should be in. Because listen, when I'm on stage in front of 1,000 to 5,000 people and I ask, who wants to do a million different things, I'll get most of the people raise their hand. Even making money, most everybody raises their hand. But one thing where everybody raises their hand is when I ask, who wants to make an impact? So if you'd love the opportunity to make an impact on the world and get paid from an emerging industry, then just show up open-minded, and Tony and I will take you on a journey.
Yeah, this is awesome. Awesome, guys.
I appreciate you, Mike.
Super stoked. Yeah, I'm super stoked that y'all are bringing your skill set and your history to this, because y'all are two of the best in the world at this, and to have y'all take the time to teach what you're going to teach, I'm going to be there watching and learning.
Oh, can't wait, man.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. Well, Dean, thanks so much for your time today, brother. I know you're on a tight schedule, and you're doing a bunch of other podcasts and interviews. So thanks for taking the time to join us.
Yeah, no, it's my pleasure. I have to tell you, I'm doing a bunch of podcasts, but it's great because what I share with you is not the same thing I share anyplace else, because you're great at asking questions. Plus, we have a connection. We have a friendship. Yeah. And you brought up some memories today that I haven't thought about in a long time. So I appreciate the great questions. Appreciate all you do, man. I look forward to seeing you on the 30th.
Awesome, brother. Thanks, guys. So join MikeDillard.com, and we'll see you there. I'll be there myself watching along with everybody else.
See you soon.
Love you, brother. Thank you.
See you, man.
Bye.